Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer The Old World, Arcane Journal, Beastmen, Brayherds. Following up on the war with Alariel and Orion and the Wood Elves, we've got these refugees from Age of Sigmar. Notably, these guys got kicked out of the Age of Sigmar just recently with the 4th edition being released, and so their models have found a new home in blue boxes on the shelves of Warhammer. And you can see here all these plastic kits. Man, I do love these miniatures, but I loved the metals. The fact that the Wood Elves got their old Dryads back, they got a bunch of their old miniatures back. I love the 5th and 6th edition Beastmen miniatures. I wish they had made a return. Of course, the Centaurs did. We got Gorus Wartooth over here came back as well. The plastic Gorus and Ungors, still the same ones from back then. And of course the Shaggoth hanging out, along with all the newer miniatures, of course the Minotaurs, which were from later editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and the Ungors and stuff too, and then the big guys, the Cygor and the Gorgon. And then this weird stag monster, who I don't know where he's from. I don't remember. I think he's an arcane monstrosity, but he's a very different one. We do get the old chariot though, with its little piggy heads, its little chaos heads for the piggies, which I think is very cool. And we get our setting. So this is kind of a continuation into the winter invasion of Alariel's realm. And alongside, sorry, I should have mentioned, there's also a card pack with all of the useful army rules. There's useful weapon cards, magic weapons, the lore of the beasts to use as your references during the game. We get our alphabet of the Dark Ton, and if you want to make some cool terrain with some words on it, if you want to like say PB poo poo on your all of your terrain kits, you can now write that in the Dark Tongue, which is great. And yeah, and a general sort of like explanation of what's going on with Kralma and his forces invading the old world as the chaos becomes ascendant again. So yeah, great color section. As usual, we get the Jabberslith back, of course. This was already in the core Ravening Hordes book. We got a Praeton, a corrupt and malign creature of chaos. I wonder if this is unreleased. It's like a weird kind of Manitou monster, like a moose monster with like caribou horns. Kralma, the Prophet of Ruins here with his little leering spirit. And Gorus Wartooth, baby, the sire of 1,000 young, the Wilt Chamberlain of Warhammer. You know, just siren young all over the world. All right, let's talk about the two different armies of infamy that are in here. We got the Beastmen, Brayherds, Minotaur, Bloodherds. If you want to do a Minotaur-themed army, you can play them. And then we also have the Wild Herd. This is like mutant, weird Beastmen with strange growths. Yeah, something growing on you should get checked out. So obviously, Beastmen, Minotaur 1, the Blood Herd. It's going to be a Doom Bull per 1,000 points, up to 1 Bray Shaman per 1,000 points, Gorbulls, Wargors, and Centaur Chieftains. Core is at least 1 Minotaur herd per 1,000 points, up to 1 Herdstone, which is a new unit from in here. Gore herds, Ungor herds, and Chaos Warhounds. Up to 50% of your army can be up to 1 Dragon Ogre per 1,000 points. Harpies, Minotaur herds, Centaur herds, Razorgore herds, and Gorgons. So you can have all the little guys, but your primary focus of your list building is going to have to be around the Minotaurs. And then rare, 33% of your army can be Chaos Giants, Chaos Ogres, and Chaos Trolls. And then a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth per 1,000 points. Take a battle standard magic items. And then your special rules for the herd itself. Bloodshed and Butchery. All Doom Bulls, Gorbulls, Minotaur herds, and Gore herds within a Minotaur Blood herd gain Impetuous. Champions of Slaughter. If the general of a Minotaur Blood herd becomes frenzied as a result of Blood Rage special rule, it means you do some damage. All friendly units in command range will also become frenzied. So if you get defeated in combat, your frenzy gets turned back on if you just get Blood Raged. And then your Guardians of the Herdstones, Doom Bulls and Gorbulls in a Minotaur Blood Herd may take Chaos Mutations and or Gifts of Chaos for a total of 50 points. So your unit champions are going to get to take some magic items, which is very cool. And then Magic of the Dark Gods, the general of a Minotaur Blood Herd must be a Doom Bull or Gorbull. For 35 points, they can be level 1, 65 they can be level 2. And they can take Battle Magic or Dark Magic. And you can wear armor without any penalty. So you become a spellcasting Doom Bull, which is great. So yeah, it's super simple. You're just taking lots of Minotaurs. You get a Wizard General, and your Frenzy can get switched back on through your General being around, basically, and getting Blood Raged. All right, the Wild Herd. And we should talk about, we'll talk about the Herdstone real fast. Because you can take a Herdstone. That's the Praeton, Ungor Ravagers, Warp Gores, Chroma. Where's that Herdstone special roll at? It's Power of the Stones, Herdstones. 100 points, placing a Herdstone. Once the players have finished placing terrain and have rolled for deployment, a Brayherds player whose muster includes a Herdstone must place it in the battlefield. It can be placed anywhere in the battlefield that's not within your opponent's deployment zone and not within 6 of the center of the battlefield. Alternatively, if the Herdstone is replacing a special feature by a scenario, it goes into the scenario rules. Controlling it, a Herdstone can be controlled by a single unit within 6 inches that has a unit strength of 5 or more and is not fleeing. If 2 or more eligible units are there, the unit close to the Herdstone controls it. If they're equal again, no one controls it. And then special rules, a tingle in the air. It tingles with strange magical resistance, so your unit that controls it gets magic resistance 1, Bestial Fury. If the Herdstone is controlled by a Beastmen Brayherd unit, friendly Beastmen Brayherd units within 12 of the Herdstone may reroll any rolls to wound of 1 when engaged in combat. Dark Sorcery. If the Herdstone is controlled by a Beastmen Brayherd unit, friendly Beastmen Brayherd wizards that are within 12 of the Herdstone gain +1 to their casting rolls, and enemy wizards within 12 are -1. Fearsome Edifice. If it's controlled by Brayherds, then Brayherds within 12 inches of the thing, enemy units suffer a -1 modifier to the leadership characteristic when making leadership tests due to fear, panic, or terror. And then victory points. As with all special features, a Herdstone is an important landmark. To represent this, if either player controls the end of the game, they get 200 extra VPs. So you're going to be able to, you can't destroy it. So for 100 points, park someone on it, at least 5 models, stick some Ungors over there, get all your ores up and kicking, and yeah, and then get 200 extra VPs at the end of the game. So 10% VPs basically just for standing next to it. Of course, you give it up if you die, so don't do that. The Wild Brayherds unit. So the Wild Herd is 0-1 Beast Lord or Great Bray Shaman per 1,000 points, and then Wargors, Bray Shamans, and Centaurs. So no Minotaurs in this one. You can spend 50 on characters. 33% must be on a 1+ Primal Warhorde. So let's talk about the Primal Warhorde. They are Claws and Fangs. So a Primal Warhound, sorry. Not Primal Warhound, Warherde. There it is, Warherde. So they're Gores, Ungors, and Foe Renders. They're on 25s. You have to have at least 10 of each, so that means Ungors and Gores mixed together again. Gores can have additional hand weapons and shields. Ungors can have thrusting spears and throwing spears, so it's your mixed unit from Old Warhammer. Normal upgrades for magic weapons, great weapons. And then they get Bestial Charge for the Gores, Blood Rage, Close Order, Horde, Impetuous, Mark of Chaos Undivided, Mixed Unit, Motley Crew, Move Through Cover, Primal Fury, and Warband. They get Bestial Charge during a turn in which they made a charge move of 3 or more. A model with a special rule gets +1 to their strength. And then Mixed Unit, models of the Primal Warhorde have a different weapon skill and toughness. Before rolling to wound, hits caused by enemy shooting would be divided evenly amongst Gores and Ungors. In combat, any models must direct their attacks against models in the fighting rank. So usually Gores up front, Ungors in behind with spears. And then you can have up to 1 Tuskar Chariot per 1,000 points for core, up to 1 Centaur Herd as a core choice per Centaur Chieftain taken. And then Gore Herds, Ungor Herds, Chaos Warhounds, Primal Warhounds, and Razor Gore units. Dan played a game with this army a couple weeks ago in a tournament. And when they made a no rule of 3 for core units, having like 12 individual Razor Gores ended up being a problem. Special. Up to 50% of your army's points value can be spent on up to 1 unit Dragon Ogres, Warped Gores, Bestigore Herds, Harpies, Centaur Herds, Tuskar Chariots, Razor Gore Chariots, and up to 1 Cockatrice or Praeton unit per 1,000 points. Now the Praetor, or Praeton, is the bird monster. It's on a 75 by 50, weapon skill 5, strength toughness 5, 4 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks, leadership 6, only 160 points. Can be ambushers in frenzy, and it's got close order, crown of antlers, endless malice, fly 10, impact hits D3, large target, and terror. When you take impact hits from it, it's armor bane 1 and AP 1. And then endless malice. If this unit wins a round of combat and chooses to restrain or reform and pass its leadership test, enemies within 6 must make a panic test as if a nearby unit had been destroyed, because it's so scary. And then it's Twisted Antlers have strength -2, armor bane 1 for their damage. You can take a unit of Dragon Ogres. You also get your whatchamacallit, your Cockatrice per 1,000 points in that as well. Rare, 33% can be Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, Jabberslice Cygors, Chaos Giants, and Chaos Spawns. And yeah, you can have Primal Wargowns as well, which we haven't looked at yet. and those are these guys. They're Close Order Horde Motley Crew Move Through Cover Swift Stride Warband. And they've got War Beast 25 by 50. They're basically like armored up. You can have armored hide or poison attacks on them, and include 1 Ungor Ravager for every 3 Primal Warhounds for 7 points. So you get like a herd for them with Motley Crew. Ungor Ravagers, they're basic Ungors. They've got Close Order Horde, Leader of the Pack, Move Through Cover, Primal Fury, and Swift Stride. Models with a special rule may be taken as part of a unit of Primal Warhounds. Models with a special rule must be positioned at the rear, making up its rear ranks. Any Primal Warhounds in the unit must occupy the front ranks in melee, and pushing past any models with a special rule to get there when they go to fight. So you get like your Ungor Ravagers to increase the leadership to 7. And then the Primal Warhounds fight up front. You can give them armored hide and poison attacks. And then your Warped Gores, which can be taken as a special choice. They are movement 5, weapon skill 4, toughness 4, D3 attacks, because they're all mutants. They get additional hand weapons, shields. You can have a Splice Horn, Standard Musician, and they can also be ambushers if you want. Armored Hide 1, Blessing of Chaos, Blood Rage, Mark of Chaos Undivided, Move Through Cover, Open Order, because they're skirmishers, or sort of not skirmishers, just open. Stubborn, Warband, Random Attacks, and Primal Fury. Blessing of Chaos. When this unit's combat is chosen during step 1.1 of Choose and Fight, roll on the table below. On a 1 and 2, they get Stinging Barbs. Until the end of the combat phase, they get Poison Attacks. Scything Talons. Their melee attacks get AP of 2, or Chitinous Hide, they get +1 to their toughness. And the idea is just combine some Chaos Spawn bits with your bits from your Gores. And then you can take a Shaggoth, Jabberslate, Cygor, Chaos Giants, and Chaos Spawns as rare. Special rules, Ancient Sorcery. In addition to the lores of magic, they may normally know from spells. Beastmen Shamans can have a Wild Herd, can use the lore of primal magic. And then Dark Coven. Shamans within a Wild Herd may leech power from nearby wizards when they attempt to cast a spell, or when attempting a wizardly dispel. They do so, a Bray Shaman or Great Bray Shaman can apply a +1 to their casting and dispel rolls for every friendly wizard within their command range. However, if they roll any natural double when making the roll, something's gone terribly wrong. And the spell is miscast, or they have been outclassed in the art. In such cases, roll immediately on the miscast table and apply the result to the Bray Shaman or Great Bray Shaman that made the attempt and to each friendly wizard in command range. So you get +1s, but if they screw it up, everybody suffers. Gifts to the Dark Gods. Character models can take mutations, an additional 25 points of Chaos Mutations, and additional 25 points of magic items. And then roaming warbands. Within a Wild Herd army, any number of Gores, Ungors, Primal Warherds, and Centaur Herds may have the Ambusher special rule for +1 point per model. Any number of Chaos Beastmen Chieftains and Centaur Chieftains can have ambushers for 10 points. In addition, 1 Gore, Ungor, Centaur per 1,000 points with a unit strength of 10 or more can be given ambushers for free. So it's the Beastmen Raiders list, but you get weird mutant stuff, and your wizards get to form covens and be better at casting overall. We got 2 special characters. We got Kralmaw, the Prophet of Ruin. He's a level 4 with Dark and Primal. And let's talk about Primal Magic right now, because that'll make it make more sense. All right, your signature is Primordial Gloom. It's a magical vortex with a cast of 9+, a range of 12 inches. It remains in play. Place a small 3-inch blast template so the central hole is within 12 of the caster. And while in play, the template does not move and is treated as dangerous terrain. While within 6 of the template, you're -1 leadership, and treat open ground as difficult. So it's just a big, weird darkness. And then your spell is Call of the Wild, 8+ Conveyance. It's at range 12. Targets friendlies who are infantry or cavalry. Until the end of the turn, the target friendly units gain the reserve move special rule. Into the Gloaming Wildwood, it's a Hex on 10+ with a range of 15, remains in play. While the spell's in play, the target enemy unit fears all models in the caster's army, not including allies or mercenaries. Models in the caster's army that already have fear cause terror instead. If the spell's cast, the effects of any other hex on the target immediately expire. Flock of Doom, it's an 8+ Assailment, and it's done in combat. Place a small 3-inch blast template, so the central hole is directly over the center of the unit the caster's engaged with. Once placed, it scatters D3+1. Any enemy model whose base lies underneath it takes a strength 3 hit with AP dash and multiple wounds 2, because you get attacked by birds. Fury of the Beast, enchantment on a 9+ for self. Until the end of this turn, the caster and any unit they've joined gain fight in extra ranks. That's pretty cool. Strangle Roots. 9+ magic missile with a 46-inch range. Draw a straight line from the caster's base. Any enemy model whose base falls under this line suffers D3 strength 3 hits with an AP of -2. And then Neath the Shaden Woad Spans. A vortex on 10+, 15-inch range. Remains in play. 5-inch blast template. So the hole is within 15 of the caster. While in play, the template does not move and is treated as dangerous terrain over which no line of sight can be drawn. Well, then 6, your -2 ballistic skill, and any enemy unit that ends its movement within 3 of the template must make a panic test. If it's failed, they flee directly away from the nearest enemy unit that it's not fleeing itself. So he knows basically the spells from that lore or dark magic. He's got a Brave Staff, Future Sight, Gaze of the Gods, Leering Spirit, Lore of Beasts, Mark of Chaos Undivided, Primal Fury, and Warband. He's got a 4+ ward. His Leering Spirit. When Kralmaw is destroyed, place a Leering Spirit marker anywhere in the battlefield that is not within 8 of an enemy unit. Once placed, the marker does not move but has 360 line of sight. The marker cannot be charged, targeted, or attacked in any way. However, if Kralmaw is removed from play as a casualty, the Leering Spirit marker is also removed from play. During the shooting phase of each of Kralmaw's turn, the Leering Spirit may make a Devolve spell from Lore of Beast with a bound spell of 3. So, yeah, when he gets placed on the table, they put the Leering Spirit down too, and it just like shoots lasers out of its eyes. And then Grizzly Totem. It's a Brave Staff. In addition, all enemy units within 6 of the Kralmaw suffer a -1 leadership to a minimum of 2, because it's just a scary stick. And then our boys here, Goros Warhoof, Sire of 1,000 Young. He's your fighting cavalry. He's heavy cav, 30x60. He's got a hand weapon, Man Smasher, and the skull of the Unicorn Lord, because he killed a Unicorn Lord. He's Drunken, Father of Beasts, Gaze of the Gods, Mark of Chaos Undivided, Move Through Cover, Primal Fury, Stomp D3, Swift Stride, the Sons of Goros, and Warband. He's relatively tough. Weapon skill 5, strength 5, toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 4, 4 attacks, leadership 8, only 155 points. Father of Beasts, while in his command range, friendly Centaurs can reroll the D6 when rolling on the Drunken table. Sons of Goros, up to 1 Centaur herd can be made Sons of Goros for +2 points. They're +1 to their weapon skill, leadership, and their armor bane 1 on their attacks. And then Skull the Unicorn Lord, he gets a 6+ against any wounds suffered that were caused by non-magic attacks, and a 5+ ward against wounds suffered by magic attack. And then Man Smasher, strength +1, AP -1, armor bane 1, magic attacks, multiple wounds D3, but he only gets the strength modifier when he charges, because he's swinging that big kill stick at you. And then we get some cool additional magic items to round off the book. A Black Maul, like all of these are classic from old army books. Black Maul +2 -3, extra attacks D6, and they're magical. Every time you roll a 6, though, the wielder of the Black Maul suffers a -1 to their weapon skill for the remainder of the game, because it's just a big radioactive cudgel. Acts as a Korgor for 40 points, +1 -2. Extra attacks +1, magic, and requires 2 hands. You roll any to wound rolls of 1 during the combat phase. Brass Cleaver for 30. It's user strength, -2 magic attacks. Enemy models are not permitted armor, ward, or regeneration saves against an attack made with this weapon if they roll a 6 to wound. So that's kind of like a weird old killing blow. The Scimitar of Skulltar, user strength, AP -1, armor bane 1, magic attacks, and multiple wounds 2. Just a nice, simple magic weapon that does double damage. Magic armor, you can take full plate chaos armor or heavy chaos armor for 40 or 30. Full plate counts as full plate. Heavy chaos armor is a suit of heavy chaos armor. Both may be purchased and worn by wizards, even if they do not have the option. In addition, the chaos armor has a 5+ ward against any wound suffered. So chaos armor gives you 5+ ward, and then whatever the armor is as well. The Fur of Shargu for 20 can be worn with other armor. Improves your armor value by 2 to a maximum of 2+ against non-magic shooting attacks. Cool for an individual lone hero. The Chalice of Dark Rain for 50. Single use during the command subphase of the turn. If they're not engaged in combat, the bearer of the Chalice of Dark Rain may drink from it. Until the start of your next turn subphase, the range of all enemy missile weapons is halved, and the enemy war machines can't shoot, because it just starts raining, because you drink from your rain cup. The Cornucopia of Corpulence for 30 points. Whenever the bearer's combat is chosen in step 1.1 of the Choose and Fight subphase, enemy models in base contact with the Cornucopia of Corpulence must make a toughness test, and if they fail, they lose a single wound. All right, so magic banners. The Gore banner, 50 points. If a unit wishes to declare a charge against the unit carrying the Gore banner, it must make a leadership test. If it's failed, they can't charge. It does not move, and it's considered to have failed. If it's passed, the charge is normal. Banner of the Warped Moon, 45 points. During the command subphase of their turn, if they are not engaged in combat, the bearer of the banner may attempt to unleash its power by making a leadership test. And if it's passed until the start of turn subphase, the units cannot use the fly special rule because you just call down the lightning. The beast banner for 40. Maximum possible charge is increased by 3 inches, and you get D3 to your charges. And then soiled tapestry for 15. You gain hatred all. However, all enemies hate them too. You get the Horn of the Great Hunt for your chain items, 35 points. Once per turn, after rolling, determine if your ambushers currently held in reserve arrive. If the bearer of the horn is on the battlefield, get +or -1 to the result. 25 points for the Scourge of the Burdened. The wielder can cast Call of the Wild from Lore of Primal with bound to level 2. Cacophonous Dirge for 15. While within 18 of the Cacophonous Dirge, musicians cannot use Forward Unto Victory, Studying Rhythm, or Quick Time. You just drown them all out. And then Blood of the Shadowgrave. Single use for 35 points. A wizard can use this instead of making a Dispel attempt. You just Dispel. But you can't stop a perfect invocation. Demon Heart, when attempting a wizardly dispel, the bearer of the Demon Heart counts their wizard level as being 1 higher than the wizards whose spells they're dispelling, or in the case of bound spells, 1 higher than the spell's power level. And then Goretooth for 15 points, in addition to the Lords of Magic, they may normally know from the spells, the Goretooth knows spells from the Lore of Primal Magic. So, cool, additional spells. And that's it. The Beastmen Brayherds. I mean, this was kind of what we were expecting. They've ported over everything from the Age of Sigmar list, reintroduced some older miniatures, brought back the cockatrice. This is all stuff that was in Ravening Hordes. So there's not a lot of real surprises here. I do love that they give us a reason to use the Herdstone, because the Herdstone's a great terrain piece from AOS. If you have one, just throw it down and start playing with it. And yeah, and some theme lists for the Blood Herd, and some cool like conversion opportunities. I do also love that conversion opportunities still live in this game in the old world, where they're kind of gone from the other ones. So yeah, more of this, please. I would appreciate seeing, you know, the armies. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually the Lizardmen have this happen. Like, what are they going to do when they start going through and bring in Lustrians? They're going to use the AOS stuff. Maybe they get back on their spaceships and they time travel. Maybe they pull like an Infinity War, an Endgame, an Avengers Endgame, and they go back in time and try and stop the end times from happening. Could you imagine if that's how they rewrite all of the lore? If I'm calling that right now, I want the algorithm to remember this moment. If the Lizardmen leave and travel through time from Age of Sigmar back to the old world and attempt to pull an Avengers Endgame and stop the snap from happening, stop the end of the old world, that would be the funniest shit ever, and I really hope it happens. So anyway, there's my look at Beastmen Brayherds. Big thanks for Workshop, send this long review, and thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Ash.